What's going on, everybody? I'm super excited for today's episode. We have a gentleman who's been an absolute legend in our industry, over 20 years of installation experience and specializing in a lot of those real high-end floors. We're talking about polishing and staining and engraving, and more importantly, metallics and large square footage floors. So super excited to have Jeremy on today's podcast. Guys, you're not going to want to miss this. Watch it all the way through. Subscribe and like, and check this one out. Hey guys, what's going on? Pete here with Beyond the Crete podcast. Super excited for today's episode. Guys, you know that we're just bringing value to make sure that you guys are leveling up in the industry. 2024 has been very unique of a year. And what we want to do is make sure that if you're starting out right now, or if you're a veteran in this game, we're learning from each other so you guys can go into 2025 and tackle it. So super excited to have a fellow veteran of the game, multiple years of experience over a lot of different systems. So guys, without further ado, Jeremy Reddig, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Pete. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate you
no.
inviting me.
Oh, man, absolutely. So, guys, we're just trying to provide value. And typically we talk about three core topics: the past, the present, and the future. And what we're going to find today is everybody's story is unique and it's going to change and evolve over time. So you need to do two main things: and adapt and overcome. So, Jeremy, real quick, kind of give like your 2-minute bio, who you are and kind of what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Jeremy Reddig. Native to Dallas, from Houston, came up to Dallas about 25 years ago and got into decorative concrete. No, I'm sorry, 21 years ago, got into decorative concrete within a year of being up here. Started out as a helper in stained concrete, and then due to that company's kind of limitations, they didn't want to get into some of the other, coatings. They didn't want to get into overlays. They were kind of, had cold feet, if you will, or they were scared to get their feet wet. I came to them and I was like, hey, I want to learn how to do, polished concrete and all this stuff. I was reading the Concrete Decor magazines, right? This is 2004, 2005. 2004. And so they were like, no, thanks, we're not interested. I offered to run a crew for them. And so that spiraled me into starting my own business, which I didn't really understand that I could do that at that time in my life. I had never ran a business before. I didn't have anything like that. I mean, I knew I was smart enough to do something, but it just wasn't even part of my mentality or my thinking at the time. I was like 29 years old. So that's how I got in the industry. I'm married. We've got 2 kids at home, one outside the house, senior in high school, one in junior high, 6th grade. Again, floor rescue in Dallas, Texas. We've done some coaching and training. You've seen a lot of crazy metallic stuff we've done the last couple of years online. We love those, but we also do everything decorative concrete, leveling, polishing, overlays, coatings, all the stuff you guys do, So glad to be here, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate that. And that, guys, let's step back with that for 1 second, because I mean, that's a limited bio, because you look at 21 years in one industry. For any industry, it's a very long time. And to be able to stay relevant and prominent and learn, I think that tells a huge testament to you. So again, when you first kind of started, I think that's going to resonate a lot with some of our listeners, because a lot of guys that come to me, they're new to just business in general, right? Not fully sure how to an LLC. Maybe they were an installer and then left and they're going to start their own business. Now, like when you first started, can you give like maybe some tips or tricks to people that are starting right now of like, hey, what do you focus on, or what would be some of the things that you would maybe do over?
Well, that being the early mid 2000s, it definitely wasn't as competitive online as it is now. You have all kinds of people competing for their marketing business, trying to sell leads and all that whole deal. We won't get in all that. I'm sure we don't.
Yep.
We get enough of all that.
Yeah.
And not that that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. You do need good guys who are good at marketing, good at advertising, but it's even better when they kind of understand our industry and understand the real needs of the startup guy or startup entrepreneur or what have you. But for me, what was big back then, I faxed, I emailed, and I went door to door.
Okay.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Passing out business cards all over. And I started going after builders and then general contractors. Now, I obviously got a website up, and SEO was a lot more simpler back then. So floor rescue got found very easily, and that actually helped me a lot. But The other thing I would encourage guys, see, the thing today is like, for example, you coach and you help guys apart from what you do day to day, we didn't have as much of that back then. We were, if you became good friends with another fellow installer, y'all were bouncing stuff off each other and you either became friends or you became enemies because you were competitors.
Yeah.
Most of the time, most of the guys I was in Dallas, we were friends. But there's been some bumping of heads, through the years. But I've got some good friends here locally, and we just used to bounce stuff off each other. So I would encourage guys to get as much education so that they can gain confidence, because you don't want to get out there and fall flat on your face. So don't bite off more than you can chew. That's kind of a tough balance in taking risk and moving forward with confidence, understanding what you're facing. And that's where guys like you or other people that people can have in their corner to help support them, I think might be pretty wise for a lot of people, because the cost today to fix something, I think, is a lot more than it was 20 years ago. We could rebound a lot easier back then.
Yeah.
Nowadays, man, the ripple effect can be huge, thousands of dollars. Plus, when you're trying to set out, you need all the positive momentum you can get. And if you go out and you're already kind of, hitting negative, and if, I mean, I could paralyze you. Could You could
I've
stop before you even start,
I've seen it. Yeah. No, I've
Yeah.
seen it with guys over the years. And it's kind of funny. I literally just got off a coaching call talking about what are the pros and cons of possibly switching from residential into commercial, or what's it look like getting into some larger scale commercial, 10, 15,000, 20,000 square foot floors. And,
Hmm.
pros and cons, obviously high risk, high reward. But we really
Hmm.
kind of went down that rabbit hole of how fast it can really bite you in the ass. And so we
Hmm.
talked about a timeline of when to potentially look at that. And I think people see a large project, say $100,000 project, when they're
Hmm.
3 months, 6 months into the coatings industry and they want to tackle it. But I don't think they look for the downfall of that. Did you experience any of that back then?
I mean, I've had tons of failures.
Yeah.
You know, our eyes get big at the dollar signs.
Yeah.
And, most men, I know I am, most of us are money motivated. It's fun making money. I love making money. I love doing a good job. I love, satisfying a client. I love, feeling good about what you've done, what you've performed with your hands, what your guys have done, what y'all have done as a collective or what have you. But I've fallen on my face many times. As a matter of fact, every time I ventured, like I started staying in concrete, and some of my first jobs when I started my own business were a disaster because I didn't understand how to read concrete, especially
Mm.
remodels. That's why I still to this day, they're distinctive. Now you can have a new construction, new slab that still can't be treated like, the conditions are well, right? I mean, concrete, bad pour, bad mix design, whatever, spill stains, whatever. There could be all kinds of issues, even though it's new. But especially when stuff's been cut into, the era it was poured in, what part of town it's in, what's going on in the, Texas, it's all over the place. So we've got some parts of Dallas that are cracking all the, I mean, the streets, the buildings, everything's a mess. And then, you just never know. I remember a floor not 20 miles up the road here, El Phoenix, they had a natural spring under the restaurant. They had 3 or 4 sump pumps, and when we redid their epoxy floors, and they had to get to that place of understanding. They had to do extreme measures to have a system for their kitchen. But yes, there's, you know, again, I think it goes back to having people in your corner that have experience. And I think more people recognize that today. Some of us guys are a little more proud and we're a little more think we can do it on our own.
Mm.
I struggle with a little bit of that stubbornness. But I do recognize the need and the value in having other people around you who can help you maybe see some things you can't quite see yet. And especially new guys, you're really learning how to read concrete. It's one thing to learn how to get on spikes and put down a coating and put down, your mills and your systems and your broadcasts and all that sort of stuff and urethanes and all that. But it's another thing to know what's going on from the ground through the floor before you put your system on. Because there's a lot of things that can be going on that can cause ultimate failure and you're just, they're going to point to you regardless if the issue was something you couldn't avoid. And so that's where experience comes in, knowing how to protect yourself and your client from going down that path. And most of us, as you know, we've got to go through some failures before we actually really, get that knowledge. And so if we can somehow pass that on to the new guys in a way where, you know, they can avoid catastrophe, I think that would be really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's huge too. And the way I feel it, at least the industry, I mean, I feel like it's come a long ways in the last 5 years. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but 5 years,
Probably. Yeah.
close, 7 years, whatever that might be, it comes a long way with more coaching and knowledge. And actually, there's more than a handful of like real key individuals that have been doing it a long time that are put themselves out there for knowledge, right? Like I remember the first 10 plus years, again, social media wasn't nearly, you don't see the groups like you do nowadays, of course,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
you just didn't seem to help. I remember as an installer, and then as I kind of was in distribution, you know, I mean, it was nothing but just kind of just button heads. And now that, okay, we like, I mean, you know this, but like, if I look at like Stephen Moore and Epoxy Depot and the Floor Wars as a competitor, because they're both distribution, like I just sponsored his event, he sponsored my event, I flew to his, he flew to mine, and we're actually some of the best friends because we're like-minded individuals. Whether we're competition or not, we're actually both leveling up the industry twice as fast as if we try to go like this. That
Mhm.
I see in the last 5 years has been huge.
Yeah, that's respectable. I think that speaks volumes to everybody, really.
Right.
You know, because most of us like we stiff arm if there's if we feel threatened, what do? We push back. And
Yeah.
so, you know, there's obviously some gray area in there. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, Valence doesn't want to lose business to Epoxy Depot and vice versa.
Right.
But hey, how can we both, you know, combine efforts on the things we're linear on and elevate one another? I think that's a cool concept. I've been playing all that in my head the last several years too. How can we and Floor Rescue, and of course I'm, you know, part of Advanced Resins, and you know, how can we do that with people? And it's sometimes kind of challenging because there can be competing or conflicting interests. But yeah, dude, I did notice that, and I mean it's respectful and commendable. And I think the more that we can, you know, set aside our differences and do stuff like that, I think that we will have a greater impact. Back to your point on the individual entrepreneur, the guy who's out there installing, because the power truly is in the install
Mm.
in our industry. Without quality installs that make a difference in the places that they're done at, and having good relationships with the people they're being done for, and with the people who are providing everything, and the knowledge surrounding these guys like yourself, distributors, manufacturers, like the industry just doesn't become what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, I love that. That's
Yeah.
good.
And I think I mean, we've both obviously lived the industry through COVID. We know what that kind of did, good and bad. It kind of, you know,
Mhm.
hit and miss, and kind of brought out a lot of low ball, right? Some hacks and stuff. And again, we see enough stuff in the industry right now. So I think it's a unique time, right? I mean, 2024 has been a very unique year just in general in the industry, obviously well outside of our industry as well. But I think we're probably on the same page where even as a business, so if you're an installer, I'm a distributor, right? It doesn't matter that we're still seeing a unique climate this year that's different than most. Like just
Mhm.
the whole industry in general. Some people are crazy busy, other people are crazy slow. It's just a very
Mhm.
unique year of where we're at. I mean, are you guys seeing that down in Dallas as well?
Yeah, I mean, we the thing is with me having a couple different businesses, I haven't had to be able to I haven't had the ability to focus as intently as I have in the past. And to be a little transparent about it, I kind of took a lot of uh, my positive momentum through the years for granted these last few years,
Mm.
because Floor Rescue has had a lot of relationships, a lot of builders, a lot of GCs here in Dallas, and I haven't had to advertise and market due to all the seeds, you know, last couple decades. You know, all the relationships I
Sure.
get, three, four, and fifth generation referrals all the time. I
Wow.
don't know who they are, where they come from, and I'm gonna be honest, I have taken that for granted the
Mm.
last couple of years. I regret doing that because I think you got to stay hungry and keep your eye on the prize, keep your eye on the ball. And so we're doing that more now to try and, you know, just solidify our path. And we don't want to lose out on opportunities and, you know, new opportunities, new relationships. But yes, to answer, a lot of guys, like you'll see it on a Facebook group, DFW contractors, right? They'll
Yeah, yeah, oh
jump on
yeah.
and say, hey, I want to flake floor. And it's like, I know all 10 of those guys, there's 20 guys going there, bam, 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 and they're hungry, they're looking for work. And I don't fault them for that. Like, of course, that's what they need to do, and it goes back to like the guys that are, when you're starting out, maybe in those first 5 years, maybe your first 5 or 10, or however you've marketed yourself, if you're in that residential, small commercial, those battles are a little different than when you get into some of the larger projects, but you got to be at another level as a business
Yes.
to hit the larger projects, not just with manpower, but just legally.
It- Cash
Your
flow,
track
everything.
record. Like
Yes.
GCs nowadays, we've been looking at some new GCs. Man, they're asking for all my credentials. They want my payables. They want my bank statements. They want to
Wow.
know how many $100,000 jobs you've done in the last so many years.
Yeah.
They want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, and rightfully so, because no one wants to get burned. And this is where it goes back to the whole lowballing thing, man. Like those guys aren't ever going to get anywhere
Mhm.
if that's the mentality, because you got to recognize first of all, when you're providing a service like we provide, like there's a certain level of value and quality that's just out the gate. And now I understand when you've got 10 guys fighting over a region and they're all trying to feed their families,
Yeah.
that's where the struggle is. Like, man, it just kind of sucks. It's like that. But on the smaller stuff, you see more of that. But this year, I have noticed it is a little bit different. I'm probably not the best person to ask for that because I don't believe I've marketed our installation company very well this last year or two. And all the stuff
Oh,
I've
yeah.
kind of done and
Yep.
chased and
Yep.
coaching and training and running around
Yep.
different states doing stuff, and the metallic training and all that. But I know the economy has affected some things for sure. I mean, obviously the price of the installs. Man, I used to do flakes for $8 a foot, no
Wow.
questions asked 10 years ago.
Wow.
Man,
Oh,
I'm nervous if I can bid it for that. Now I'm not going to
yeah.
get the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And
that
especially in Dallas.
sucks.
I mean, I know Dallas a little bit. I mean, it's a saturated market. There's no doubt about
It
it.
is super saturated, and I
Right.
probably, yeah, Florida, Dallas. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's
Yeah.
just different
Arizona.
areas.
Yeah. Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And that's a good point too, because, I get a lot of questions too. People ask like, hey, I'm going to start up in X area. It doesn't matter. And then they
mhm.
always ask, like, hey, what do you know about the area? And some areas I know a lot about, or I can, hey, contact so and so, right? Hey, I don't know Dallas, contact Jeremy, contact Corey, whatever it is, and they'll Nick and
Yeah.
Ryan, obviously, and all these guys, and they'll kind of tell you. And I mean, one thing I think that's powerful that I want to touch on too is people that are veterans in the game. And I'm going to say that as probably 10 years or more, we're connectors, we're networkers. Like I
Mhm.
might not have the answer, you might not have the answer, but you can point them in the direction. And I think people are scared to talk and reach out when realistically actively looking for that. We want to help. And I know you're the same way with that.
Yeah, we've helped a lot of people the last few years. Again, when I was, pursuing more of that, but I've now limited that a little bit, being that we've decided to fully commit. And I say we, it's like, me and my wife are kind of a partnership
Sure.
in the business. We work together. She's been working with me since, 2009, I think. So she's schooled in this deal and she
Yeah.
works out in the field too,
Yeah.
so I just think about some some jobs we've had to do that we didn't want to do,
Oh
working
yeah.
overnight and crazy stuff. Um, but golly, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, but it's like knowledge and helping out and stuff like
Oh,
that.
helping guys. Yeah. So I have to be a little more selective with my time right now.
Mhm.
I answered a few calls today, a couple other guys, this guy down in Houston. They came to our last training, we've been talking and stuff. And and because he's trying to grow his business down there and he's getting some really unique opportunities in Houston. And he's young in this deal, but he's got a good head. He's got, he knows what he wants and he's focused. And so I've been, spending a lot of time with him, because you never know, we might be able to come down there and with our experience and knowledge, help him elevate, his install and maybe some relationships with him and we piggyback off each other, man. But if I was just making money on or making a living coaching and training, and maybe if I had a store or something, because I don't have a store, we were leaning toward that, but I'm not going that direction anymore. I could probably do more of that, which I would love to, but um, yeah, I'm gonna save that up. I'm gonna save that to the Pete Johnsons of the world. Man might have a little more time than me.
Well, but it's not, nothing's easy about it. We need to make sure that they understand nothing's easy about it. And time is
Yeah,
money and time is valuable, you know? And
for
at the end of
sure.
the day, I'm in a little bit different position than you are. And I want to make sure that we get a chance to really talk about this because where you're at currently and what you do in today's environment, your focus is flow rescue, right? Like your focus right now is bringing back your installation. If that correct, like that's kind of where your
It
focus is,
is.
right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. So we still, so I'm a partner with Advanced Resins currently. And so that brand and that product still exists. It may be moving out of Texas because we're we're currently looking at only focusing on floor rescue and no longer being in distribution of product, meaning me
Yep.
and my wife Angela here in Dallas. So still want to support Advanced Resins and Paul, and we've made a lot of great relationships in the last couple of years with several different manufacturers and different people. We went to Epoxy Wars, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Stephen Moore, I just actually was just texting him, a few days ago, but yeah, and as I reflect on everything, especially this last year and a half, I keep coming back to the place of just like, man, this is really just about relationships with people, man. It's about you have to protect yourself. You have to be careful, right? Because like I said, there's a lot of competition, and we all got our own agendas. We all got our own ambitions. We're all trying to succeed in this thing, and you can't be everything to everybody, and you can't help everybody,
Mhm.
but you gotta figure out what road you want to go down and who you want to go down it with. And and I think that's what we were trying to figure out. That's what I was trying to figure out, the last year and a half, and but I know I've landed back where I'm going to focus on building client relationships, building my installation company again, and I want to grow it. I actually want to grow it to be a national brand, maybe license it later or something. I don't know, but that's down the road.
Cool.
But I want to get all my systems in house, and all my everything digitally, everything my training. I want to have in-house training for my team and for new people and guys as we grow, and just get back to that place. I was in that place in 2018 and 2019, and without taking up too much time, I started a second business, a gym here in Dallas.
Mm.
COVID hit, it went under, we lost a bunch. It was really rough in 2020 for us. I went back to work in the field full time. When a man has to sell his Harley Davidson, time's rough.
Oh, brutal. The things you do for
And that was the only
coding.
Harley,
Look at
that was
that,
the only
man.
Harley I ever had too.
Yeah,
So, I was like, but maybe I can get
you'll,
another one day. Who
you'll get
knows?
one. You'll get another
But
one.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the least of my worries, right?
Yeah.
First world problems, right? So, but I went back to the work in the field and focused on that again. And then that's when I got online and I started seeing the power of that and the influence, because I was really just trying to share my experience, just, have some fun with it and see where it went, and it kind of opened up a lot of new opportunities. But to answer your question, yeah, pretty much. I really want to get back to just solidifying my installation company, that process for people who come to work for us, the process for our client to have a great experience, and obviously putting some cool cores out there. Still want to do some cool, killer, crazy stuff. If which I have a cool opportunity right now. I can't say who it's
Okay.
with, but
Okay. Okay.
he's gonna, if it all works out, he's gonna let me. He's gonna let me use his name, and he's gonna put us out there too. He's a wrestler. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
And well
I'm
known.
excited.
Everybody
Okay.
knows him. But
Okay.
yeah, he wants to do something cool metallic and stuff. So we're hoping that works out. But either way, we want to get back to doing what we love. But to be honest with you, man, I kind of lost my desire for that last
Oh, for
couple of years.
installing or
Yeah,
for coaching?
for installing.
Okay.
I
Good.
really had this strong desire to coach, and I really wanted to make that work. And I think I got caught up in some stuff, and some of my own stuff, just some of my own, desires about, what that's going to look like. And I was pushing some limits on products and had some stuff kind of bite me. Had a lot of issues with some different, again, pushing some limits on things
Sure.
that aren't necessarily time tested,
Sure.
and when you do that, you're taking risks. And so, I always try to make it right with any install that had problems or troubles. I'll always, to my own hurt, I'll make it right. And so anyway, That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, that's great though. But I mean, it's a huge testament to who you are as a person, right? So I'm huge on
Yeah.
core values, right? So who your
Yeah.
core values are, again, everybody, at least most people in the industry, see them painted on our walls, right? And it's a big deal. And so
Mhm.
integrity is one of them, right? You stand
Yeah.
behind stuff. And I know that I haven't had my installation company since 2015. Um, and I had a floor that I did back then. She just called me, it was leaking. It's technically not even my fault, blah, blah, blah. I literally paid one of my other installers to go redo it 100% sight unseen. I paid for him, paid for the
Mm.
materials. It's to go take care of a floor that I did back in 2012 that the company's been dissolved for 10 years. It just,
That's pretty commendable.
yeah, it's just kind of the things you do
You
because
know?
she was nothing but amazing. She was one of my first floors way back in the days.
Right, right, right.
Again, just one of those things
Yeah.
you do. And that I think that's huge. And I think, and it goes well beyond me, you, the industry is just, I think the world needs more people, more better, good-hearted people. And again, that's off
Yeah.
topic, obviously, but
Yeah.
um,
Definitely
true,
necessary
man.
though.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the world is pretty jacked up.
Yeah, well, it
At
is.
least what's being put out there, you know that. Yeah, we do need to stand up and speak on matters that we believe in though, even within the industry. Like, yeah, I mean, because as business owners, we are leaders. We are
Right.
leaders in our communities. We're providing employment, we're providing jobs, we're providing for families. And, we need to remember, most of us, when we started, it was for the American dream. I mean, it was to have freedom, it was to have more financial freedom,
Mhm.
and it was to, be able to pursue an opportunity. That's the beauty of what we have, and not every country has that,
Right.
so yeah, I'd hate for a lot of those rights to be taken away, man.
Right. No, absolutely.
You
And
know,
that's the thing too is, and we got to stand up and fight for what we want. We also got to stay focused in what we need to do to continually do that. Drown the
yeah,
noise out and
yeah.
focus on what we can. So I always say, like, control what you can control, right?
Mm.
Like just focus on that. I'm huge into kind of manifestation, right? Like again, like you're gonna have a Harley. Like I'll speak that into existence. I believe it.
I
Like I want,
received
yes, exactly, right? Like I want certain things, and I think that's
road glide.
it's huge. There you go. Road glide. See, I'll get it.
Yeah,
Put it
yeah.
on your vision
Bagger,
board. Yeah.
decked out.
So, exactly. So again, you painted that picture. So let's do that. Let's kind of finish with a lot of like the future. Where you personally, the business, again, without giving away your secrets and stuff, like where are you going? Where do you see yourself in flow rescue in the next couple of years?
That is a very good question. Believe it or not, I'm actually looking at rewriting my business plan,
Okay.
even after being in it this long. When you start out a business, and for all the guys that are watching that are just starting out, you usually write out, your 1 year plan, or I guess you do 3 months, 6 months, a
Yep.
year,
Yep.
2 year, 5 year. I guess you could do 10, but and the statistics of how many businesses fall off the first year, the second year, 5 year, 10 year. So, and really only by God's grace have we made it, because we've had some tough, tough spots, real tough. And I won't get into all that. Some of them are, or more personal things that were going on in our lives. Some of them were, we've had a few floor disasters that we've had to
Sure.
make right, that
Mhm.
put us to the brink, and we made it through. And but you know, I is where I guess my OCD gets into trouble, because you got residential, commercial, industrial. And when an industrial client is coming in, it's got say a big job, say something over 100K or over 1 million, whatever. It could be several facilities across the country. It could be, pharmaceutical, whatever. It could be a big, whatever. When they come to your website, or they come into your, that meeting with you, and if they see that all you do is residential flake floors, chances are you're not going to be in the running to get that job. And so where I'm divided, and nothing against either one of those groups, because that it kind of segregates that way
Mhm.
unintentionally, because
Mhm.
you're gonna gravitate, like I said, most guys who are doing, residential are doing light commercial. They might get into some medium sized, big commercial here and there, depending on the individual. Different people, different places, different levels of experience. And back a long time ago, when things were a little more simpler, I was trying to do both,
Mhm.
and we were doing both. I was set up with ride-on scrubbers and all this stuff to do a big 100,000 square foot warehouse, and had multiple 32-inch machines polishing and all that. And then And then I'm over here doing a, concrete countertop in a home and doing a flake floor at the vet clinic and doing a, micro top on a, living room floor. And I had no problem with that, because I came into the decorative concrete side, which was mostly staining and micro tops and polishing and all of that. And then I got into epoxy actually later,
Okay.
in 2010. So I was about 6 years in before I got into resins. And I was kind of scared, to be honest with you. Mix it. I was worried about there wasn't enough time to put it down,
Sure. Yeah.
which back then
It,
it was
there
about 20
wasn't.
minutes.
There wasn't a lot of
Yeah,
time.
there wasn't. I've had a few stuff set up in the bucket.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
knowing what I know now, it's
Yeah.
like there's not as much to be fearful of as you think.
Yeah.
But you still need to gain understanding and knowledge and know where you're at, because it is about being organized and having, guys on your team that have, everybody needs to know the role when you're doing, especially doing larger jobs
Mm.
or jobs that are very time sensitive and with material. Everybody's got to know the role and have some experience on some level. But yeah, as far as where we want to go, I do want to pursue commercial and industrial on a larger scale. Um, I don't I don't think I'm so naive that I understand I can do all of it. Like, I understand that. So unless my training program for floor rescue, which we'll be developing again, um, unless we want to segregate, you know, or I just give the residential away, the smaller stuff. I mean, I'm doing a couple of garages right now. I've done two or three of them. I'm doing I went and looked at a small job. I just went and looked at $100,000 job today, and I looked at a $2,000 job today, a one day job, which I didn't want to do it for two. I'm giving away because times are tough. I would normally, my minimum, just to share, you could, because if you called me, I'm gonna tell you,
Yeah.
$3,500
Yeah.
for me to go do a resin floor in a
Yeah.
garage. Now, I did one last week for 2,500 to match another company's price. That's fine. One day system, got in and out, beautiful. I went by there, took some pictures, looked great. They wanted me to do their little fitness room now. So I still do those, but and I'm not opposed to doing those, but I would really like to start pursuing more larger commercial, because I've done some $250,000 jobs.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I remember doing $130,000 epoxy job, and I've done some near 100,000 square foot, epoxy jobs, and other stuff like that. But sometimes I think you got to take some of the smaller ones to kind of fill in when you're installing. You got to keep you guys busy, keep things going. Again, I think it goes back to marketing. I think at the beginning, or maybe before the program, we started talking about, who you got to go pursue these relationships.
Yeah, right.
And so that's kind of what I'm focusing on, is looking at new, I don't know if it's necessarily creative, but it's been the way men have been selling long before the internet ever came out, is you would go sit face to face with somebody, introduce yourself and tell them what you can do for them and prove it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going back to that and looking for maybe some opportunities in, again, back to, commercial industrial. If I had it my way, we would do a bunch of commercial, a bunch of industrial, and do just custom residential that's more high end.
Sure.
And then the smaller, like garage stuff, I'd probably, give to somebody I'm coaching or
Right.
helping,
Yeah.
somebody who's starting out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. That
ideal.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, ideal. I'd like to get to that place where I'm not. And that's what I have done in the past. I used to give away a lot of jobs, but now that I'm focusing only on floor rescue, I'm only going to give them away if we can't get to them in time, and but other than that, yeah, I really want to pursue the larger stuff. I do want to grow beyond Texas. I mean, I've done stuff out of state, but it'd be nice to kind of eventually be able to service Austin, Houston, and Dallas, like at any time for anything. Again, there's got to be a minimum
Yeah. Yeah.
size project and up. And I mean, we already travel and do stuff. I mean, I just was at a job a couple hours away. I mean, that's just a couple hours, but to me, that's traveling. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes, I'll have the
Absolutely.
guys stay out of town because, who wants to fight traffic every day and go out and drive 2 hours and drive 2 hours back and trailer and all that mess
That's Dallas. Doing
all
20
week.
miles is 2 hours.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, but yeah, there's some other things I'd like to do, maybe with floor rescue but first we're gonna get all that in-house where our training, our management of projects, and then, you know, we're pursuing new client opportunities now, new client
Yes.
relationships.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at doing now with general contractors, and eventually I want to go visit plant managers and stuff like
Okay.
that, and start
Okay.
trying to, you know, jobs that you won't necessarily see on a bidding platform. You know,
Exactly.
just people who already have businesses in place that are running their operation, and, you know, who
Yeah.
knows what they have.
But they have a need, right? I mean,
But
that's
they
the
have,
thing. They have a need, right? And
yeah.
so, again, a lot of our people that are going to be listening to this, I mean, residential or commercial, like they're floor guys. We do a lot of product obviously distribution for well beyond just floors, right? So wastewater treatment facilities, right? Polyurea spray foam, like there's just a million. When we look at coatings, if you will, right? Then you start talking industrial, like you're talking in power plants. There's a whole different level of Novalax and MMAs and urethane cements and stuff that people listening might not know a ton about, but the
Right.
people that need that aren't specifically looking for it until they need it. And when you can be proactive and go get it, you're the preferred vendor.
Bro, that's huge right there.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes. I have a real good friend who travels and does wastewater treatment filter systems, you know, and so we just actually did some stuff at a wastewater treatment plant here in Louisville. We did their lime troughs. They were just coated and caked up, and we pulled out all the old metal and coated it. And I almost was going to say the brand, but
Yeah, that's
they
all
don't even
good, right?
care. Whatever. It
Yeah.
was panemic. It don't
Yeah.
matter, but
But there's a
whatever.
bad. I mean, at the end
But
of
it
the
was a
day,
good. I enjoyed the product. It was good.
yeah,
Everything went great.
yeah,
They loved it.
yeah.
Performing.
See, that's what matters, right?
But
When your customers love it, and that's the best
yeah,
part.
yeah,
So
and but
again,
but you're right. No, there's so many different ways to pursue opportunities, and that would be my encouragement to new guys watching this, that you're just getting started and you're getting into flakes. You want to make a living doing that, and maybe you want to venture into metallics. I would say be careful with that a little bit, because they look great online, and not that they don't look great in person, but they have to be almost flawless. Otherwise, you run into a lot of trouble.
yeah.
And, you know, they're not as forgiving of a system. And um, it takes probably, I would say, triple the labor than a flake floor, maybe even more than that, depending on where you're at in your install
Mhm.
capabilities. And so the price point is not, it's not as great as it appears.
Mhm.
And but to those guys that are starting out, you know, get into grinding seals, maybe learning sealers, learn
Mhm.
concrete, learn that
Mhm.
side, because that's a big deal. If you want to get into polishing, that's great too. But yes, look into how you can learn how to mess with polyureas, or if you're getting good at, you know, knowing how to trowel and put down, you know, thicker gauge systems like urethane cements and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like that would be something to get some and practice at your shop and start, or go to a training. I don't know if you have any training on UCs,
Mhm.
or, you know, something like that. Like, man, I would highly encourage that, because there's big opportunities out there for those projects, and there's going to be greater margins on those than there are on the. But, you know, I know guys that do 3 to 5 million a year, and they're busting out flakes, and they got
Exactly.
it down to a science. And you know
Yes.
what? I envy those guys. Those guys are freaking rock stars,
Yeah.
you know. But if that's what you want, then that's what you do.
Yeah.
You know, you model your business that way, and you structure it that way, and then that's what you go after. And then once you got that in place, if you want to start looking into commercial industrial, you know, it's all up to the guy or the team or the group. It could be a
Right.
gal. I'm saying guy. I'm trying to
Yeah.
be, you know, but you know what I'm saying. I
No, and
mean,
that's huge information because it's just kind of funny timing on this with some of the coaching and commercial industrial stuff that we just got done talking about, and it's incredibly important about when you take on these projects and everything like that, and kind of jumping out of the gate can cause problems, and going right back to kind of how we started with um, potential liabilities and things to look out for and stuff like that and stuff.
mhm.
And guys, I just want to make sure that you guys are hearing it from a couple veterans that are been through there in large scale projects and high dollar projects, some profitable, some you lose your ass on. It's just the way it is. But we're trying to come out and coach or help you guys to understand that, hey, there's pros and cons to every system. And I'm not here to push product. I'm just here to educate and say, guys, you got to do your due diligence and not just look at the dollar signs, look at what goes into it, because what might seem amazing probably got a few pitfalls along the way. And I also want to caveat that is, guys that are the newer to business, younger than say 12 months in business, you're going to have challenges, right? We listened to a guy who's been in business for 21 years, and he said he's had challenges, and I bet you there's been more than he's probably going to talk about, because it's just the way life goes, and that's your personal, and that's your business, and that's just the way it is. And more importantly, look at where he's come from in 21 years. You know, I got 20 years in, and again, you just keep going. The most important thing is keep going. And Jeremy just did a really good presentation of this is where I'm gonna go. It's not just the 20 years behind me. He's building the next 5 years out because he's got 20 already into this, you know. And you
Mhm.
don't get to into the power plants and the commercial stuff unless you have a fan deck of jobs you've completed. You can't talk to that GC unless you've completed that $100,000 project. So don't start there. Start building your online reputation and everything from the beginning. And it's okay to start fresh and just
Mhm.
continually keep at it. Don't be the low ball guy. Provide value, like provide value, provide education. That's literally what we do now in all of our social stuff. And what Jeremy does is provides education because that's what the homeowners want nowadays. That's what your
Mhm.
customers want. Don't sell them, you educate them. And that's the fastest way to be successful. So I think you hit on a lot of good key points right there.
Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, man, I don't know if I could add anything to that. I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, no, okay. Well, let's do it. Let's wrap this up.
Okay,
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge. I'd love to have you back, you know, and stuff like that as you kind of keep going. And, you know, I'm sure
sure.
I'll see you at one of these amazing events coming up. Guys, again, not even to promote anything that I'm doing, but let's look at the industry as a whole of World of Concrete coming up in January, in the very near future, Floor Wars. I'm postponing my event mastermind, which is going to be in February. We're postponing it to late of 2025. These are industry events that you guys can go to and gain a ton of knowledge from and network. Don't be afraid to come up to somebody that you've seen online and just shake a hand and introduce yourself. These are the guys that are willing to help you. And this is how you level up. It goes right back to how Jeremy started, as networking is number one. So again,
Mhm.
Jeremy, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your insight, and man, you're going to crush it down there with Full Rescue. I know you will.
I enjoy it, Pete, man. I appreciate that. I truly do. I
Yep.
appreciate the words
No,
of encouragement,
absolutely.
man. I
No, man,
receive
absolutely.
that.
I'm here. Hey, man, I'm in your corner rooting
Hey,
for you too, man.
hey man, guys, look, it's a struggle, man. It's still a struggle for us veterans in the game. You know,
Yep.
things don't always go like we wanted to. And, you know, sometimes we got to dig deep, go back to the drawing board and you know, get back to keeping things simple and just get back to basics. Cause, you know, keeping it simple and, you know, redefine, you know, why did I get in the industry in the first place? You know, well, I mean, obviously I wanted an opportunity and but it also had, you know, a passion for what you're doing. And you know, it's okay to hit the reset button. It's okay to, you know, it's okay to fail as long as you keep failing forward. You know, don't quit, don't give up. You know, sometimes it can be very difficult to have to work through painful losses and, you know, learn from your own mistakes. It's not easy, it's not fun, but as you gain ground and gain experience inside and gain that wisdom for yourself and you apply it to your business, nobody will ever be able to take that from you. And then as you continue to apply it, you grow and you develop and you start to build. Hopefully, you can create and build wealth for yourself, build a good reputation, and build a good legacy, you know, for yourself, for your children, for your family, people that work for you. That's where I've come back to after these last few years of doing a lot of different things, not sure of what direction I was supposed to go in. And you know, that's where I'm at right now. I'm just trying to keep it real simple and remember who I am, remember why I got in this deal, and opportunities will open up for you. To Pete's point, try not to chase everything so much. The opportunities that come your way when you're doing quality installs and you're treating people well and you know a good reputation following you will take you a lot farther than you trying to manipulate your way through this deal. And we all got to struggle with that a little bit because we're you know I'm guilty, man. You know I got to fight that. You know, but I try to. Integrity is a big word. My wife. Anytime I go to her and I know the answer already, but I'll ask her anyway. She'll say, you know, no, we need to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's going to cost you to do the right thing sometimes. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you money. But when you walk away from that, you never know what referral can come. You never know what could be awaiting around the corner. It could be a test because when you're faithful in small things, you'll be faithful in bigger things. And man, that's something I need to be constantly reminded of. So anyway, thanks, Pete, for having me. I really appreciate it, man. Look forward to seeing you again sometime, some
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Oh, man.
event,
Wow.
man.
Wow.
So
Powerful ending, guys. That was amazing. So again, Jeremy, I really appreciate you guys coming on. Guys, if you can, just give a subscribe, a quick like to all this. Go follow Flow Rescue on social media. Huge following already, gone viral dozens and dozens. I don't even know how many times,
Oh,
obviously.
crazy
All the
metallics.
time. All the time. We'll put it that way.
Yeah,
So,
I've been putting. I'll start putting more content out there too. I'm hope to put some more value out there, like Pete's doing with this. So
yeah. Hey, guys, this is what it's about. We're providing value. If you have any questions, comments, reach out to Jeremy or myself. Comment down below. All the links to Jeremy's website and social media will be in the link on the YouTube below. So, if you guys, without further ado, Jeremy, thanks again. Guys, tune in for another amazing Beyond the Crete episode. We look forward to leveling up the industry. Thanks,
trust
guys.
to the rescue, guys. Have a good one.
See ya.
Thanks, Pete.